Hi, SITC fam. If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to rate us 5 stars on any podcast platform. Leave us a review wherever you can. And don't forget to subscribe to LL Geselle on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and find us on Facebook at Sonographers in the Cities.
Hi, SITC fam. Welcome to another episode of Sonographers in the Cities. I'm Lynn.
And I'm Geselle.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode.
Welcome, everybody. We appreciate you guys listening. And for those of you who are new here, welcome. We do have a lot of new followers on Instagram and the Facebook group. So, yes, welcome, everybody. If you're new here, if you've been here for a while, thank you so much for sticking around. This podcast is for all of you who want anything to have to do with ultrasound and just life in general, whether you be a sonographer or you are a student or pursuing ultrasound. Even doctors can listen to this too and hear what we have to say about our daily lives. But Lynn and I wanted to dedicate this episode today to all of you who are new here. And so, if you are new here, welcome. We're going to tell you a little bit about our story and why this podcast is what it is.
Yes, and we'll just, this will be a reintroduction on both of us and to basically reiterate the purpose of our podcast and the goals that we hope to achieve with this podcast.
Yeah. So many of you guys actually DM'd me as well from the past week, and I recently just came back from AIUM's UltraCon over there out in Orlando, Florida. So thank you so much to AIUM for sending me to that conference. It was so much fun. I'm sure if you guys were following on Instagram, you could see the things that I was doing. If you weren't following, I do have a highlight of it, so you can go check that out. And I will be posting a YouTube video. I just don't have time. So eventually that video will be up. So subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see it.
So tell us a little bit more about the conference, just like in one sentence. How was it for you?
Well, the conference was amazing and it was just so full of information, networking, and meeting a bunch of people who basically understand me. And it's really cool to be in a place where everyone likes ultrasound. Because I think if you're someone who's really passionate about this field, that is a place that you should be at. And it wasn't just for sonographers, it's for students as well, medical professionals, healthcare professionals, anyone that has to do with ultrasound. So it was amazing. And in the future, we're going to have our guests to come on and talk about AIUM's conference. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be really cool. You guys don't want to miss it. So make sure you're following us on anywhere you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss that. And follow us on Instagram. I think Lynn should go next year with me because it's going to be in Texas.
Ooh, I've never been to Texas.
Yeah, it's going to be in Austin, Texas in
Ooh,
April. I believe, yeah, April. And
okay.
so it's definitely something we should start saving up for. But if you guys want more information, comment down below and we will let you guys know about it. So stay tuned for that. But truly, a lot of you guys, I think, came from that AIUM because they did repost a lot of my stories and the people that I was with, Natalie and Mary Beth, two people that you guys all probably know from social media. They are really big names on Instagram, TikTok for ultrasound and the ultrasound community. So I am really grateful to be part of that. Just I didn't think I was even someone that big to be able to go to one of these things. But it's really cool
But
because
you are,
I just
and
didn't
other
feel like
people
I was.
see it.
Oh, thank you. Like I really just going up against their following and the things that they do, like they are very educational, funny, humor, and they post a lot, and mine is more of, like, bringing into my life and having you guys understand what it's like to be a sonographer and, not just the sonography portion of it, but also my life. I'm very, I think, personable with a lot of you guys, so I guess it just really humbled me to be around people who've been doing ultrasound for so long and are super smart and just have been in the field for so long. Because 'cause I've only been doing this now for 6 years, and everyone that was there has been doing it for so long, over 10 years, over 20, over 30 years. I've met people doing ultrasound for that long, so that was amazing.
That's awesome. It sounds like an awesome experience, and I can't wait to hear about it in the future episode.
Yeah, longer than 1 sentence, but there was so
Yes.
much stuff to talk
That
about.
was a paragraph.
Yeah, literally. But I just wanna say thank you to everyone who's here from that because, without
Yes.
that experience, I don't think the podcast would have grown that quickly so recently. I mean, we shot up from, like, I don't even remember. Now we're almost to 1,000. Like, because
Yes.
if you guys
That's
obviously listen to
amazing.
our other podcast episodes, Lynn loves to call our podcast the baby podcast
It's still a
because
baby. It's growing.
it's our baby podcast,
It
but,
is our baby.
I know a lot of you guys are binge watching our episodes, and,
Mhm.
I got a lot of messages from people who have been saying they're listening to them. So I hope you guys find them helpful, and that's exactly what Lynn and I are here to do, is to, have a space for you guys to listen about the ups and downs, the real, the raw, about sonography, and
Yes.
this is why we both have our team sonography shirts on. Yay!
Because all the imaging modalities are great. We just love sonography.
Mhm. And without each one of us, sonography, MRI, nuclear medicine, X-ray, CT, and we all help diagnose patients, and that's what we're here
Yes.
for. And you guys going into this field are going to make a big difference in people's lives. And this podcast is great because you guys get to hear things that people won't tell you when to your face
Right.
probably. They probably won't tell you to your face or before you're going into the field. A lot of times you guys are researching things, trying to figure out is sonography or ultrasound for you. And Lynn and I talking about it every day. Uh,
Yes.
we just love doing that because Lynn's from New York. Well, she lives out there in New York, and I live out here in Las Vegas. So completely opposite ends, but we are coming together for the same thing, same passion. So,
Yes.
Lynn, with that being said, let's have them hear a little bit about your story for everyone who's new here.
Okay. Thank you all for listening, tuning in, watching, or just express even a little interest into our baby podcast. We appreciate you because your time is valuable. So thank you so much for tuning in. My story, I've, I started this journey since when I started my sonography program. So I've been doing kind of trying to raise awareness for sonography with my Instagram page and then with the podcast is mainly to raise awareness for ultrasound, for sonography, because the profession is growing rapidly. Is their popularity is increasing at a very extra, what's that word? At a very fast rate. I'm
A
sorry,
very,
it's
very
been a
fast
long
rate.
day.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Lynn just got off work, you guys. Bear with us.
And what was I saying? Race. Yes. So I started my Instagram page on that, and then I connected with Giselle, and we talked about sonography, and then we started this podcast because we love to talk about ultrasound and sonography and anything and everything relating to sonography. So we're like, why not do a podcast so that we can have a space to talk about it as well as raise awareness and help future generations of sonographers as well. So that's kind of like a glimpse of my or our background. I think. And then for me, I started as a student, I graduated or I finished in November and I've been working since. So I'm a baby sonographer.
Yay. Congratulations.
Yes.
I'm so proud of you.
Yes. And I am registered in echo and vascular. Right now I'm just working as vascular technologist. Hopefully soon I can do both echo and vascular. So that's a quick
Awesome.
glimpse of my um story. Now
Yeah.
it's just Sal's turn. Me.
Well, yeah, when we did start this podcast, that was kind of the views we wanted to have was Lynn was a student at the time when
Yes.
we first started. So when you guys are going to binge watch this for those that are new here or just watching us for the first time, if you go back to the very beginning and keep watching and listening, you'll see that Lynn has so much growth in
A lot.
the last few years, but also it's just crazy to watch both of us grow together.
Yes.
She is a new grad now, but she knows so much now than she ever knew before. And we loved having the whole, we're very similar personality wise, but being a
Yes.
student, you're still learning about a lot of things.
Mhm.
So that was really cool to have her as a student and then me as like a someone who's already been in the field for a few years. So when I started, I think I was like, I don't know, 4, 5 years, you know. So
I think it was
it's
4 years because then I updated
you updated to
the
yeah,
I had to update our bio
the
to 5.
bio. So yeah, it's really cool to see us grow individually, but also together and in this podcast. So we like to get your guys' questions and input and talk about whatever it is you guys want to talk about. So stay tuned for future episodes. Also, let us know what your favorite episodes were if you have been listening to us for a while now. Um, but when I first saw Lynn's page, I was like, wow, she's so positive, and I like her posts, and like her New York posts were so cool. I
I had
mean,
like less than 10 followers and this I don't know, this random girl on Instagram who loves Disney had like 8,000 followers like follow me. I was like, who is this? Why is she following me? I don't have a lot of followers and look where we are now.
yeah, I just saw so much potential in you that I felt like, I don't know. It was obviously the posts that you were posting and the things that you were giving off, and then
Oh,
our
thank you.
conversations.
Yes.
So me being a sonographer who already had experience, um, we felt like our podcast would be great just because we'd have two different views.
Yes.
So that's essentially what our whole reason was. I obviously love ultrasound and spreading awareness. I was doing that with my YouTube channel already, and then seeing her doing that. So that's how Sonographers in the Cities was born. We also bring in sonographers and even other people like nurses onto the channel because we want to have people be able to share their stories. And if you go to our guests on our old podcasts, like just hearing their stories, it's so amazing because they all are different cities, states, they all do different things. We all have different registries and specialties, and there's so much to do in the world of ultrasound that everyone's story is different. So that's the whole point of the podcast. And we just want you guys to feel welcome here, um, and just know that we do this not just for us to just talk about ultrasound because we're crazy and weird, but to bring you guys into it too and to have a community. And the ultrasound community is really amazing. But if you're not part of one yet, you should join ours.
Yes. Definitely. Ours is it's a small but growing, very supportive community. And I think every day I'm grateful to be a part of it. Some days that, when I need to check out ultrasound or sonography, and every time I come back, someone's always there to, you know, be supportive of what I'm going through. And Giselle is one of them because she's
Oh,
always
thank you.
there.
Honestly, like, it's hard to go through sonography school or just sonography life in general alone.
Yes.
We already work alone with our patient, right? And we're
Mhm.
always in our minds. And it's hard to see the things that we go through and have no one to understand what we're going through. Because truly, I think nobody understands what sonographers do except for sonographers.
Exactly.
And so having this community where people who understand ultrasound, who understand what we're going through, and who understand what it took to get here and what we think in our mind, because a lot of times people think what we do is easy. It's not. And a lot of times people think what we do is not stressful. Also not.
It is stressful.
Mhm. So our podcast is so great because there's so many things we could talk about ultrasound. We try to, limit it to about 30 minutes or less, but there's just so much to talk about, as you can tell with all of the episodes we've had so far. What do you think?
I definitely think that we have talked a lot, that we have discussed great topics, but we also have a lot of room to grow and discuss more important and fun topics.
Mhm.
And the vibe that Giselle and I, try to give off to this podcast is that it's a fun, educating, real podcast, like very unscripted. If you can't tell from me making mistakes or we're just laughing from our mistakes. It's just like a very casual, get together
Yeah.
time where we just talk about the thing that we love, which is sonography.
Yeah. And we also want to make you guys know that what you're feeling is valid because we've
Yes.
all probably been there. One, two, we all understand, and this podcast is not to say that, oh, ultrasound's hard, don't do it. We want you to know, like, oh, ultrasound is amazing, it's rewarding, it's challenging, it's stressful, just like any other job, anything in the healthcare field. It is stressful, but you can do it. We did it. If we can do it, you guys can do it. If anyone on our guests, they tell their story and how they got through it. Lots of moms out there, because I still get that question nowadays: is I'm a
Mhm.
mom, can I get through it? Or I'm a dad, can I get through it? Or I need to work, can I get through it? These
Yes.
are all things that we all have talked about or have all gone through. Lynn was working too when back in the day, and I was also working as well. So it just goes to show that you're not alone. And I just love this podcast because we can talk about things and it feels better almost to just talk about it than to just like keep
Mhm.
it in your mind.
Yes. Therapy. So this is also a weird, it's also a
Weird
therapy, I
therapy,
guess.
weird therapy session. I mean,
Free
there's
therapy.
so many times where I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, a lot of times I'm like, "Why am I doing this?" But then I remember, or I talk to Lynn, or I see your guys' messages, and, that's the whole reality of it, is that ultrasound is so hard and stressful sometimes that it's like, "Why?" But then we get pulled back to why we did it in the first place. And that's the same thing you're gonna feel as a student, like,
That's
truly.
funny that you said that because I recently had a couple of messages on Instagram from students who are feeling demotivated and they're asking for advice or suggestions on how I got through my program. And, I try to give them advice from my perspective as well as from students who we've had on the podcast to them so that they can have remember, like you said, why they chose to do this in the first place.
Mhm,
So I think it's like everybody is feeling the same wave because what we're in April, so it's towards final season and everyone's stressed. So
Yeah.
everyone's going through that roller coaster of sonography school. And again, like Giselle said, we just want to let you know that you are not alone in this, whether you are a first year sonography student or a second year sonography student or a new grad who's trying to find a job, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are new grads trying to find a job, they're having a hard time, and then there's a lot of students who are, um, getting ready to graduate and already have a job lined up. So, everyone's situation is so different, and everyone's situation is so unique that when you guys message us or email us or, send us your concerns, we're
Mhm.
actually here responding to you guys and giving you advice and helping you. And that's what Lynn and I are here for. And we like to hear those things too because we can talk about it on the podcast. Obviously, we won't tell people who you are, but
Mhm.
what you're going through is going to help somebody else who's also going through that and will also help us. And it kind of brings us back down to, you know, what we went through or what we've already accomplished. And just because I've been doing this for 6 years, doesn't mean that I don't feel the same way that a new grad is feeling. And
Mhm.
I learned that too from the conferences that there's people who've been doing this for 20, 30 plus years who I asked for what would be their advice to give to someone who's going into this field. Same exact thing is, you have to understand it's not gonna be easy, and then you're gonna get things thrown at you every single day, and you have to try to get through it. But who would ever think about that going into
Yeah,
ultrasound? Like,
right.
that's not your first thought. Your first thought is, "I wanna become a sonographer," or, "I wanna scan that baby," or, "I wanna
Mhm.
scan that mom," or anything like that. And we think it's easy at first, but then we get through it, and we're like, "Wait, what did I just get myself into?" We were all there.
Exactly.
Mhm. So, that's what I love about this and us, and I think that, you know, going forward, obviously, we are going to have more people on the podcast. We're going to have more topics to talk about, and we're just living life together. And I'm
Yes.
pretty sure I said that in like the very first and second episode. And
I
we're
think
like,
so too.
yeah, we're like so many episodes down the road,
Mhm.
and we're still doing what we're doing. And it's awesome.
We're just getting busier and busier, but we're still dedicating time to do this because we love doing this.
Hmm. And if you guys need a community or people to talk to, reach out to us. We do have the Discord where we have a lot of students and sonographers in there who will give advice, tips and tricks. Also, send out like they do talk about notes and like they help each other
Mhm.
when they have questions. So it really is a community that helps each other. So if you're listening to this podcast, if you're doing your research, you're already 1 foot ahead of somebody else who's not doing any of that stuff. And you're one step to reaching your goal to becoming a sonographer. So I really commend everyone who's listening.
Yes. Amazing.
It is
You guys
amazing.
are amazing. You will be amazing
Mm,
or more
wow.
amazing than you are now. Is that a word? No.
Yeah.
But you know
Well,
what I mean.
yeah, they're
You'll
good.
be
I
more
mean,
amazing than you already are.
yeah, because it is amazing that you're listening to us. Like, why would
Yes.
anyone want to listen to an ultrasound podcast? That's my question.
Right. Right? I'm like, there's so many other interesting podcasts out there, but that shows that you love sonography as much as we do.
And I think that having that is going to help you so much, especially students who are trying to get into a program. You can use that as leverage. Like, hey, I listen to Sonographers in the Cities, a podcast about ultrasound, because that's how dedicated I am. That's how
Yes.
much I want to be better at my job. That's how much I want to have better quality for my patient care. And not a lot of people can say that.
No, and this it shows that your passion for sonography is real.
Mhm.
If
If
you
somebody
do
told
all
me
these research.
Yeah, if somebody
Yeah,
told me they were doing that and listening, I'd be, like, very impressed, I would say.
same.
Mhm. So, we appreciate you guys.
Yes, thank
Don't
you.
forget to like the YouTube video, follow us on the podcast place that you listen to. I know there's, like, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to
Google.
podcasts. Google has
We're
podcasts.
available everywhere.
See, I don't
We
even know.
are.
Um, and then rate us 5 stars on Apple, and
And
yeah.
Spotify.
Oh, and Spotify?
Yes.
5, 5, yeah, woo, woo.
Yeah,
Leave a
five, five,
review,
five, five, five. Yes.
um,
Follow,
'cause
did you say follow us on Instagram?
follow us on Instagram. We're
Yes.
almost to 1,000 of time of recording, and I'm hoping that we reach 1,000 by Friday when this releases.
Yes, that'll be a big milestone for us, our baby podcast. It shows that we're growing and we couldn't have done it without all of you. So
Yes.
again, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you guys, and we'll talk to you guys on the next one.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for connecting through sounds with us. We appreciate you and can't wait to connect with you again next time.